Welcome to the show.
This is Philip H. Anselmo.
Hey everybody, this is Ricky Rackman from Headbangers Ball.
Hey guys, this is Aaron from Betraying the Martyrs.
Hey, what's up? This is Mike D from Killswitch Engage.
Hey, this is Scooter Word from Cold.
And you are listening to...
And you are listening to...
And you are listening to...
And you're listening to... You are listening to...
Talk to Me.
Talk to Me.
Talk to Me.
Talk to Me.
Talk to Me with Joshua.
What is up, congregation? Welcome in to Talk to Me, episode 231. Happy Halloween to everyone out there. The guests this week are Kenny Hickey of Silvertomb and Typo Negative fame, and Alan Robert of Life of Agony fame. Two great interviews this week. They both have albums out. The Sound of Scars is out now by Life of Agony, and Silvertomb has The Edge of Existence out tomorrow, November 1st. Got a track from Edge of Existence coming up and a track from Sound of Scars coming up. And we will also check out some classic Typo Negative and some classic Life of Agony on this action-packed episode of the Talk to Me podcast here on Halloween. Hopefully you guys are going to go out tonight, take the kids out, take yourself out, get some candy. I did read that the dad tax on candy is going to be pretty high this year, and that will 100% be true at the Toomey household. If you guys see some full-size Snickers bars out there, let me know where they're at so I can curtail the Toomey clan over that way. No Apple Podcast review this week. No Facebook recommendation this week. I need you guys out there. If you guys have an iPhone, hit the Apple Podcast thing and leave a nice 5-star rating, nice 5-star review. It takes a couple of seconds, and that will be much appreciated. Also, the new Talk to Me shirts are in, so make sure you are reaching out. Those are just, order those through me at paypal.me/talktome. $25 shipped anywhere in the continental United States for free. If you're overseas, we can work something out. $25, PayPal it over to me. Send me your name, your address, and what size shirt you need, and I will get that to you. I have sizes small through extra large. All of my 2Xs are already gone. I appreciate everyone out there that's already bought a shirt, and thank you for supporting the show.
My name is Scott Bowling. I have a show called Good Company. Good Company is a show where we film artists in the rock genre, and we talk about their first record all the way to where they are now. We've interviewed bands like Korn and Seven Dust and Rich Ward. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook under Good Company or Good Company with Bowling. So please, if you get a chance, check it out.
Good Company!
Looks like the Good Company show is going to podcast coming soon, so I'm sure we'll have Scott on to talk about that. So always go over to YouTube or scottgoodcompany.com. Let him know that the Talk to Me podcast sent you, and thank him for all of his years now of support of the Talk to Me podcast. And the t-shirts I talked about earlier, the Talk to Me t-shirts made by merchlive.com. Looks like a new episode of the Merch Live magazine's coming out soon with my excerpt from the Corrosion of Conformity Mike Dean episode will be in there. So cool to have the Talk to Me podcast in written form. I know many of you out there may not understand this, but having the Talk to Me podcast interviews in written form is very cool. I do appreciate all of the Blabbermouths and the Metal Nexuses of the world for putting Talk to Me on their websites, but having a physical, tangible copy of the Talk to Me podcast is pretty awesome. And last but not least, before we dive into the interviews with Alan Robert of Life of Agony and Kenny Hickey of Typo Negative / Silvertomb, I do want to say the new Skin Lab album is out. And you know, if you've listened to the show for years and years, you know my love of Steve, you know my love of Skin Lab. And so make sure you guys are checking it out. It is an absolute banger of an album. Just from note one, it's so good. And it was great to see on Friday when the album came out. Looked like everybody in my Facebook feed was checking it out. And so make sure you're supporting Steve and the guys in Skin Lab and checking out the new Skin Lab album. It is fantastic. So with that being said, let's check out some classic Life of Agony. Let's talk to Alan Robert to check out some new Life of Agony. Talk to Kenny Hickey. Check out some of his new band, Silvertomb. And then I will talk to you guys momentarily.
Forget about life for a while, but it never is that easy.
How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm getting psyched to see the Misfits at Madison Square Garden this weekend.
I actually had that on my list. I know you're a big fan, so we'll start out with that, man. How cool is it to see that band so many years later get to play Madison Square Garden?
Oh man, it's like one of your friends getting made in the mob.
I don't know, man.
I feel like Jimmy Conway and Goodfellas, you know, like they're in.
They made it. They finally made it.
It's an amazing thing. And they totally deserve it. What a groundbreaking band. We had the pleasure of touring with the Michael Graves era version.
Yeah.
And that's how we got friendly with Jerry and Doyle and back in the late 90s. And I've just been a huge fan my whole life. I think the very first live Agony show I ever played, I was wearing a Misfits shirt. And I think I've worn one, if not Misfits, then a Doyle shirt, probably almost every other show in the last 30 years. It's going to be legendary. The very next day, we steal Doyle, and he's opening up for Life Agony in Europe.
Yeah, that's going to be a great tour for the going overseas and stuff. The one thing about the you saying you're wearing a Misfits shirt at the first show and throughout the entire career, it's crazy how that skull and that logo and everything else just became so iconic, over the years, to where you'll see just like, hip hop fans that have no idea what the Misfits are rocking Misfits gear just because of how cool it is.
It's definitely iconic. And, I think like most people my age, we got into Misfits because Cliff Burton had the skull tattoo, and then Metallica ended up doing some big covers of them, and they turned like a whole generation onto Misfits that might have missed them, So yeah, I'm a huge Cliff Burton fan. So as soon as I saw that skull on his arm, I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah, I think we were all like that. We all got the garage days and checking out those last two songs and the lyrics alone. You're like, God, I got to see what the other songs by this band is like. And actually, when I sat down with Doyle and interviewed him, and one of the things that we talked about was that very thing. And he gave 100% credit to Cliff Burton. Even just Cliff alone for keeping the Misfits alive in the 80s.
Yeah, how amazing is that?
It's a great cosign right there. The Sound of Scars out now, and you guys just did I guess, do you still call them CD release shows? What are we calling these? Album release parties, or hit play on your Spotify account release parties? But you guys had one of those over the weekend, and how well did it go? All that good stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because you get music any way you can now, right? I don't even have a CD player in my car.
Right.
Where do you play CDs? You know what I've seen? Actually, vinyls are really blowing up all my feeds. Fans are really digging vinyl, and actually the record company put out a cassette version of Sound of Scars in Europe.
Nice.
So I'm looking to get a hold of that. I don't know where I play it, but but yeah, we did an album release, kind of like an intimate show, just for diehard fans. We actually just gave away tickets through the local radio station and Brooklyn Vegan, and we had a handful of just VIP guests come down, mostly family and friends. And we want to celebrate the release of the album, but also it's a significant date because River on Dread was released 26 years ago. So we kind of commemorated both events at the show, and we played a mixture of both records and some other from the back catalog. It was such a fun time. We had our kids there and our families there, and it was just a fun night. It was just LOA and our Brooklyn crowd, and Joey and I got to actually jump behind the bar because it was at Coney Island Brewery, right down the street from Nathan's, where we shot our first music video for Through and Through. So it was a lot of full circle experience, and Joey and I jumped behind the bar and served drinks to everybody that was there for about an hour before the show. And it was a really cool hometown experience, you know?
Yeah, it's so crazy to hear 26 years ago. I mean, you know, I just turned 40, so I mean, basically, you know, I got the Through and Through, The River Runs Red on cassette, you know, at 13. So, you know, that makes sense, 13, 14 when I got all that stuff. So it makes complete sense. And the one thing about The Sound of Scars is I had the, you know, the advanced copy. You know, I hit play not knowing anything about it and immediately knew what was going on with the skits and, you know, that the kind of the continuation of the story. And does that part of your brain, that the graphic novel, the coloring book part of your brain, you know, get excited when you're able to kind of go back and tell more of that story and just be able to tell a story at all, you know, on a record?
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, first of all, you know, Pink Floyd, The Wall, not just the album, but the film also, how it all tied together. That was such a big inspiration to the whole band when we were kids. And I think we always aspired to create something like that for our genre of music. And I've always been a storyteller. I've always written comics even before they were published when I was a kid. And now I've been doing it for about 10 years professionally. But I think almost every song is a little story in a sense. And when you could, you know, find a common theme between them and tie them together in a concept album type of format, it becomes almost bigger than life. So it was such a fun experience, a challenge, because we know what there are a lot of expectations, obviously, tying to River Run Dread. But at the end of the day, we made the record that we're so proud of, and almost it's intended to be listened to back to back.
Now, you know, of all people, that doing a sequel to a classic is damn near impossible. You know, you've got your horror movies, and if a sequel comes out 26 years later, you're like, I don't know, man, they might mess this one up. But I really feel like... I
don't know, no, but they kind of nailed it on Evil Dead 2, though.
They got that one right.
Evil Dead 2 is even better than the first one.
Yeah. So, but I mean, there's a lot of misses with a few hits. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But what I was going to say, man, is I really feel like this album, it hits a lot of those classic nerves, plus is, you know, obviously current. You know, adding Veronica to the band added a whole new dimension to the band. There's a couple times where she kind of goes off on the drums, where you're like, whoa, man, you let her loose completely, and you might have a Dream Theater album on your hand. It's good. It's good stuff.
Oh, she's just phenomenal. Great person, great performer, great musician. And she definitely brought her chops to this record. You know, we flew out to Oregon to record the drums with Sylvia Massey, one of the producers on the record. Also, Joey Z, our guitar player, co-produced the record with her, and he did an amazing job. And but we recorded the drums, especially out there with Sylvia, because she's got a ton of old vintage equipment. We were really chasing that organic sound. Veronica actually played on a handmade, hand-built drum kit that Sylvia had. And the studio that Sylvia had was really different than anything that we've ever recorded in. It's there's no wall between the engineer area and the live room.
Oh, wow.
And so everyone's got to wear headphones to hear anything back, and you got to be super quiet while someone's tracking. It's really cool, and you know, it breaks down barriers physically, you know, between working with one another. And that's what this whole record was about, was like getting down and dirty, sitting on the floor, working out riffs together, taking song seeds and developing them all in the same room, just like we did the old records when we first started. You know, when, you know, this band's been through so much over the years, and we got back to the mindset of what makes Life of Agony. And I think you boil it down to two things. It's got every song's got to move you physically, with the groove and the riffs, and then also emotionally through the lyrics and Mina's vocal performance, and really tapping into some really heavy inner thoughts to our listeners. And that's what this whole band has been built on, and what's kept us going for 30 years.
Absolutely, and it's great to have new life of Agony. I know that the last album just came out 2 years ago, but this one kind of seems a little bit more put together. I don't know why. I don't know. That doesn't come from anything other than just a feeling. But this one feels like the band is truly 100% back. You have a full lineup and an intact lineup.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think a lot has to do with Veronica joining the band last year. And when she joined, we became more focused than ever about really taking a look at the strengths of this band and the things we needed to work on, and to kind of tackle everything together. And when she joined the band, we had 2 sold out shows in Brooklyn lined up, and to kind of introduce her to our crowd. And we went back and listened to all the old records together to find songs that we hadn't played in decades, and to bring them back into the set. And I think she learned something like over 20 songs to spread over the 2 nights. And by doing that, we went and listened to the records with fresh ears, and we kind of discovered that along the way, over evolving from record to record, with many years in between some of them, that we kind of abandoned certain songwriting elements, and not intentionally, just, as you grow and as you're influenced by different styles of music, you tend to forget about some of the things that inspired you in the first place. And by listening to the old records, we got back in the right mindset to make a chapter 2 to River on Tread, and to incorporate a lot of those things that we hadn't done in many, many years, like, incorporating those heavy gang vocals again, to bring back those breakdown parts, to master the record analog instead of digitally. All these little subtleties really became a focus for us, and I think it shows.
Yeah, and the one thing that jumped out to me all the way back to when we were talking about the drums was, I was like, something sounds different, and then I realized it was just a real drum kit. It's not. I don't feel like it's all the snares were replaced and all of the toms were replaced. I feel like every hit is different, and it's odd to my ears now, because so many albums are, the drummer will track the drums, but then they'll go back in and replace all of the snare hits with the same exact snare for every hit and stuff.
Exactly. We really tried to get away from anything that sounded sterile. We were chasing that organic 90s sound, really. I mean, that's, the technology wasn't happening that frequently back then. In a lot of records, you're still dealing with tape. And I think it was only by our third album that they started incorporating Pro Tools into the picture. So we really tried to go back to those early first records and capture the sound quality, and the warmth and the body of those types of records, and and capture the band in the live feel. That's why when you go see the band, it sounds like the record, because that's just us in the studio.
I think there's also a thing where you talked about going back and listening to the first albums, and Emily oh yeah, we got away from this or that, but those, especially the first 2 albums, no offense to Soul Searching Sun, but the first 2 albums had such a unique sound and tone and voice that even if a band comes out now, people will go ooh, that kind of sounds like Life of Agony. You created a sound, and to hear that sound again is refreshing, I think, for me.
Oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. And if you listen to River Undread and then Ugly back to back, I mean, it almost seems like two different bands, the approach and the sonics. Because even at that stage, it was like we did River Undread. We didn't want to repeat ourselves. And we never really did want to repeat ourselves. And even with this record, we consider it more of a chapter 2 or a continuation of River Undread, not trying to duplicate it. Mm-hmm. So that was top of mind also.
No, and I agree. And I remember getting Ugly when it came out, and you get that first like, oh, well, this doesn't sound as exactly like River Runs Red. But at the end of the day, I think it held up, and still some of my favorite Life of Agony songs on it.
Oh, thank you.
So let's dive into your graphic novels, your comic books, graphic novels, coloring books. I think that you've been on the show before, and we talked adult coloring books. So it looks like that line has exploded since the last time you've been on here, and just kind of talk about that side of your life.
Yeah, it's funny because it's been about 10 years now that I've been working with IDW Publishing. They took a chance on me with my little horror book called Wire Hangers in 2009. And they contacted me about publishing that comic, which I had written it and illustrated. And since then, they've allowed me to put out a ton of other series. There's been Crawl to Me, Killagy, Shunned One. And the last couple of years, I've been focusing on these horror, adult-themed coloring books called The Beauty of Horror. And the first one came out September 2016 and just blew up. It went to #1 bestseller on Amazon, and it's available at all the big chain stores. And since then, it's either 4 or 5 books. I lose track now because I'm working on stuff for next year already. I think there's 5 books on the market, and some of them are like Halloween specials or Christmas specials, and
I love it.
It's been so much fun exploring this whole world that kind of started for fun, because when I first pitched IDW the idea to do a horror coloring book, it was right around April Fool's Day, and my wife was coloring in one of these adult coloring books, and most of them at that time were just kind of like flowers, nature, and zoo animals and stuff. And she was coloring with my daughter, and I tried to get in on it, but there wasn't one page that I could see myself sitting there for an hour and coloring. And she was like, well, what do you want to color? And I was like, something disgusting. And she's like, well, what would it be? And the most disgusting thing I could think of was CBGB's bathroom. And I drew it. And I drew it that night. And as a joke for April Fool's Day, I posted, here's my adult coloring book page, CBGB's bathroom. And when I woke up the next day, it had been downloaded over 400 times.
Oh, wow.
And people were coloring CBGB's bathroom. Totally disgusting. And it was so much fun for me just to interact with fans in that way, that same day I pitched this horror coloring book, The Beauty of Horror, to IDW. And they got back to me within like 15, 20 minutes, which was like the fastest response I ever got from them. Usually it takes a few days. And they were like, absolutely, let's do it. But I thought they were joking because it was April Fool's Day, and they never greenlit anything that fast, but they were super excited. And since then, it's just the whole series has really developed a cult following. Some of the books have been actually translated for different territories like Korea and Poland, and it's been a lot of fun.
And it's also led you into the world of, the Comic-Con world. And so a lot of times, I follow you on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And a lot of times you'll see, you're at some sort of Day of the Dead fest, just whatever, a comic book horror fest, horror cons. And I'm sure that's an entirely different world for you. from the music world, but I think it also probably coincides a lot to where I'm assuming, when you're out doing these signings and selling your books and things like that, you're also getting a ton of Life of Agony fans there.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of crossover, I think, with LOA fans and horror and comics, and I think it all is kind of intertwined in a way. But at the same time, there's a whole different audience for coloring, and I think some of those folks have no idea that I even play in a band, and the ones that do find out are kind of intrigued, like I had no idea, and what's this all about, So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you definitely branch out to a few different things. Jumping to, you're about to go, looks like in a week or so on the European tour, right after the Misfits show that you're going to be attending, which I'm completely jealous of. I did get to see the Misfits. I got to see them the second Riot Fest show they did in Chicago. We made sure to go see that, which was a thing I would never thought I would get to see, but I did see actually I did get to open for the Michael Graves version of the Misfits one show, but and then also I got to see them at the Riot Fest. So my Misfits are in there, but you get to, you're taking Doyle to Europe, doing that. You guys tend to do some European runs. When are we going to get to see this in the States? It's some form or fashion, not just the Northeast.
Oh yeah, we're working on a full U.S. tour for 2020. And we have some announcements coming up in a few weeks to hit some territories the band has never ever been before, and so we're pretty excited about that. Is
it just not cost effective to really tour the States? Is it just obviously you go to Europe, maybe a little bit more lucrative for the band, or like what's the holdup?
Well, we were definitely waiting for the new record to tour the U.S. in a big way, and a lot of last year was kind of reestablishing the band in a way. We did that full Rise of the Underground tour. We took Billy Bio out and Power Flow, and we hit the West Coast for the first time in a very long time. We tried some new things, and it was all a huge success. So it just kind of, we're building on that momentum that we built last year, and that led us to record The Sound of Scars. And now that just got released, now we're ready to just go out there and play everywhere we can.
Definitely looking forward to it. See, make sure I got everything on here. I did have two songs that jumped out at me when listening to it. Was Empty Hole into My Way Out. I was just like, damn, like that's just like heavy Life of Agony back to back. Like the second half of the album is just almost pummeling. How the songs just kind of keep coming. You kind of think that you might fall into some filler or some late album tracks that may go by the wayside, but you continue to listen to the album, in which I do believe it is an album listen due to the through line of the skits and the songs themselves. But yeah, I mean it just continues to pummel you as it goes along.
Yeah, we definitely. That was definitely top of mind. The sequencing, everything that went into this record, and not just the sounds and the songs and the lyrics and how we produced it, but the sequencing I think is key. Because we come from an era that we would listen to records from start to finish, and I know that a lot of the younger generation doesn't really. Maybe doesn't listen to music that way. I know like my younger cousin, he only grabs a couple of songs off of iTunes from bands that he likes, and that's fine, but this was intended to be like, listen on your bed with headphones from start to finish and just soak it all in. Like some of the favorite concept records that we grew up on, Roger Waters and Pink Floyd and all that.
There was a study I saw, and I'm going to get the number wrong, but it was a pretty high number. Like 20% of teenagers have never listened to an album from start to finish. It was something crazy.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
probably accurate. And
it might actually be a low number.
Yeah, it's lower than I thought. Because some younger bands that I know don't even arrange or categorize their music by band name. They do it by song, and the bands are actually secondary.
Right.
So it's just a different way of consuming music. At the end of the day, as long as people are enjoying themselves, it doesn't matter to me. And it's all good. And also at the end of the day, we made this record for ourselves first. We wanted to satisfy ourselves first. Being that people dig it just makes it that much better. But at the end of the day, it's art, and you just got to be happy with what you do.
Well, absolutely, man. Well, Alan, let's end off with the song. What song off of The Sound of Scars would you like us to play?
How about Blackheart? We just released a video for that one.
Very cool. Is there any special meaning behind this one, or something in the lyrics you want to talk about?
I think this is something a lot of people could relate to, especially if they've ever gone through a breakup. Just walking around with that empty feeling that someone's taken a piece out of you, and you're still haunted by it. I think it's a pretty common feeling that people go through.
Well, fantastic, man. Well, good luck with The Sound of Scars. The new album already out. Make sure you guys are getting it wherever you get your music legally, and make sure, hopefully you guys will be coming to the Midwest when you come through. I'll definitely be hounding you guys and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right, Alan. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. See ya.
gone and stripped away.
Well, we'll dive right into it, man. We've got Kenny Hickey of Silvertomb and Typo Negative fame on the line, man. How are you today, sir?
Hanging in there at 11 in the morning.
Yeah, it is a bit early for you, man, and I'm not even like the first of the day, right? You've already had a couple before me.
No, baby, you're my first.
Oh, man, it's always nice to be your first. Well, we're talking about Silvertomb and the new album Edge of Existence out November 1st, basically Halloween. Man, what a killer record, man! I was definitely enjoying it.
Thank you.
You've got a very Sabbathy Chris Cornell voice, man. I was very taken aback by that.
It's just the way it comes out. I keep getting that a lot,
Yeah. I think if the Soundgarden guys want to do a one-off show, I think they need to call you, man.
Oh, they need somebody way better than me.
Nah, I don't know about that one. But, the one thing about this album, and it's, kind of got some Typo Negative themes dealing with Peter Steele, the band ending, and, kind of your own demons, too. Kind of talk to me about that a little bit.
When I first started writing, I was kind of like banging around ideas. And they were actually for Seventh Void, my previous band. And then as the writing process drew on, kind of like looking for what the album wanted to be about and sound, Like when I write, it's more like a search rather than, I'm controlling everything. Most of the good stuff just comes out of the thin air,
Right.
And as I was writing, I started developing the first few sets of lyrics. I noticed I was kind of dealing with those issues. I was going through I went through a lot in the last 10 years after Peter's death and the breakup of Typo, obviously, after his death. So there was a lot of searching of, who the hell I was and what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I realized that the album was sort of becoming an epitaph to the 20 years I spent, in Typo and as a member of Typo. And, so that's how that whole theme started growing.
Now,
and once I latched onto that, I just basically explored all those feelings and emotions that I went through after that tectonic change.
So was it therapeutic? Was it cathartic to get those emotions and feelings out of you?
It was definitely cathartic. I don't know how therapeutic it was. Caused me to drink a lot. So, maybe it was therapeutic psychologically, but not so much physically.
And now just having to revisit those times, kind of going back into your, the emotions and the feelings and dealing with Peter's death and even, obviously the ultimate, the demise of the band and all that. What did that stir up a lot of just, maybe feelings that you didn't even, know were there?
Oh, definitely. I think it let out. It let out of a lot of the deep emotions that I had bottled up, compartmentalized, And it helped me make sense of it. It helped me make sense of why I do some of the things I do, and why I struggle with anxiety, depression, and a lot of it is rationally based. I've been through a lot of shit. I mean, everybody goes through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So I guess this is the way I dealt with mine.
Oh, I mean, obviously, a lot of times, music is the best therapy. So, to deal with it this way is probably, one of the best ways to do it, I think.
It's creative, yeah.
The actual, writing process and things like that, are you a guy that, likes to get in a room and jam? Or are you a guy that likes to, sit at the computer and put out some stuff that way?
Both. I kind of like, Johnny's very busy all the time, so getting him down there to work out with him is always, we always have to really get that time together. And we don't jam as much as I'd like to because he's now living in Texas. So a lot of this record was done I converted my wife's walk-in closet into a studio.
I'm sure that went over well.
There's jackets around and stuff like that, to soundproof it, and I soundproofed it somewhat, and I just stay down there with my computer, whatever, a couple of 6-packs of beer, and I scream my head off till 3 in the morning, and then, whatever comes out, comes out. Next morning, I kind of reassess it, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, wow, this is really good. And then sometimes I'm like, what the hell was I thinking?
I think we all do that. The and those coats, kind of act as a natural, soundproofing. So I'm sure that helped out in the recording process.
It did. And then I drilled a hole through the floor from my laundry room. It was right down into that closet, and I ran some cables upstairs. And so a lot of the record when we recorded it, we did all the basic tracks in a place in Pennsylvania. But then all the overdubs, my vocals and the leads and stuff we did in my house. And we just plugged in my living room and did it in my living room. A lot of complaints from my neighbors.
The being in there with all those coats, did you go, wait a minute, you never wear these coats. Like, why do we have all these coats? Did you have any of those arguments?
The shoes. I finally got rid of the shoes. I mean, I live with 3 women. I have a wife and 2 daughters.
Yeah.
Up to my neck in shoes. So I built her a shoe closet.
Well, that's one thing.
Store all the shoes there. And, it's nice and cozy in there. It has a light dimmer. I dim down the lights. It's like very dead sounding. That stuff comes out like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. when the whole world's sleeping,
Oh, that's the best times. With the typo themes and kind of dealing with Peter and all that on this album, and having Johnny a part of the band, is that something you had to talk to him about? Be like, hey, by the way, this album is kind of going into some deep stuff. Did you have that conversation with Johnny?
No, I mean, it was just developed. It developed right in front of him, and he was all about it. He loved it. What the lyrics were saying, what we're trying to capture. And the whole idea to start orchestrating the parts. I mean, it kind of wrote itself, the orchestrated parts. And we were like, wow, this has a lot of possibilities. And Johnny was like, why don't we just go for it? I said, okay, we don't have a keyboard. I don't know how we're going to pull this off, And we just sort of went for it. And, that's how I ended up needing a keyboard player. I got to play keyboards. It's Aaron Juice who brought it to the band.
Yeah, everything's...
And then Joe James, my guitar player, great guitar player. Hank Hell was a carryover from Seventh Floyd as well. He was our bass player in Seventh Floyd. And then, excuse me?
No, I was going to say the one thing about the band, though, even though these are about your emotions and your feelings and everything about Peter and Typo, this album is like a hard rockin' Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath album. It's not, you're not going to get a super Typo album out of this. So don't, if fans are going into it thinking you're going to resurrect all of it, you're definitely not getting that.
Yeah, it's in no way that. I mean, I would never do that. I mean, I'm going to try to, what do you want, sing an octave lower and try to sound just like Typo. That would be ridiculous,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more of a fusion of things,
Yeah, it was. You definitely could nail it down. Listening through it. There was, like I said, kind of some Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath sound and stuff, and then even it's kind of hard. Yeah, the Pink Floyd stuff, and so it's a very, very rockin' record as opposed to some of the drudgy or Typo stuff that maybe your fans are accustomed to.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's drudgy, but you're right. It's a very hard rock based, and that's where I became, musically conscious in the 70s when I was a kid. So, that's what I grew up on. I grew up on all that stuff. And I guess, including the Beatles, and trying to fuse all those things until you find something, that you love to hear and you love to play.
One thing this talking about Peter and Typo and all kind of came up is, I got into Typo obviously with Black Number One. I was like 13 years old, and we would go to me and a buddy of mine would go to every Typo show that came through Nashville. At a great place called 328 Performance Hall, where I basically grew up. No longer there, but meeting Peter, and my buddy actually bought the Playgirl magazine and took it to him for him to autograph it. and in a very innocent way, he was like, "Peter, you hung like a horse." And Peter looked at him, immediately said, "Yes, my mother was a mule." And I will never, ever forget that.
Peter always had a quick comeback, man.
That was great. That was absolutely
great. He had equal amount of dudes make him sign that magazine as girls.
That was a very, very odd thing, because I'm probably like 16, 17, and my buddy's a couple years older, and he's like, I got the Playgirl, and you're like, do you look at it or don't you look at it? So, but, one of those things that I noticed, I was at a show just recently, and a band was throwing out toilet paper from the stage, and the first times I ever remembered like bands throwing toilet paper, like toilet paper rolls, was you guys. Did you guys get that from anywhere, or is that a true typo original that's carried on to this day?
It's a true, honest typo negative original. We've been doing this since 1989.
Yeah.
Back in the first Lemoore shows. And we were throwing out a number of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Pumpkins, banana peels, and toilet paper, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
toilet paper was always the mainstay. We'd even put it on the rider in big hometown shows, whether it's Philly or maybe sometimes it was LA, whatever big shows. We put 500 rolls of toilet paper.
Wow. And
that was the minimum.
500 rolls of toilet paper.
Then we'd have our techs, peel the paper, open the toilet paper rolls all day.
Yeah, and once they got going, man, those were some of the craziest things I've ever seen. Is once that stuff gets flying and the rolls get undone, man, that was a lot of fun to see. And it was crazy that a band in 2019 at a festival was still doing it. I was like, wait a minute, isn't this typo negative? Like,
what band did it?
The band A Day to Remember, good kind of pop punk band, hardcore band out of Florida. But yeah, it was fun to see. That was like a nice little homage to typo. I wonder if they got it from them or just saw it somewhere else or whatnot.
Well, they must have seen it somewhere, of us doing it over the years, even the Pantera show. That Pantera show in Vegas, we did 1,000 rolls.
Good Lord. That probably put somebody back about $8 too.
Oh, their gear just blew up, and we were just running around stage chasing each other. They were feeding back, and then the Pantera was actually barred from Vegas for 2 years after that.
Well, that's one thing when I do have bands on that got to tour with Pantera being my all-time favorite band. What are some of your memories of touring with those guys?
Well, that was a good one right there. We wrecked their show in Vegas.
Right.
Oh, those guys were a great time, man. We did a lot of touring with them.
Yeah.
Like 8 or 9 weeks. And every night was a party. And you were not, even no matter how hungover you were not allowed to not party. Dimebag come into your dressing room. What do you mean you're not drinking? So shoveling the stuff down your throat. It was just nonstop, man. We had a great time with those guys. Yeah,
I got to see the Typo Pantera show, and actually, for some out of nowhere reason, in my Facebook memory this morning was I'd scanned my ticket stub from like '96 from that show. So very, very cool, man. Very good to talk to you and to kind of relive those memories because those were those shows, and then the Typo Life of Agony shows. So many great tours back then.
Well, the Typo Life of Agony one, that would be like '93, right?
93, 94, somewhere in there, yeah. So
that was the very beginning. We were just we were in a tour bus and we were playing to 100 people a night. I think Bloody Kisses was out for like 6 months. Yeah. Those were the days, man. It was just like nothing to lose. Or was it like 24? Screw it, just having fun, man.
Yeah, another crazy part about those shows too, because like I said, I was 13, 14, 15 years old. Girls showing up at Typo shows were, there was just so much sex in the air that you didn't know what to do with yourself. And, I'm going through puberty and there's just all these just amazing goth girls just walking around.
I know it was, even though we were a grunge era band, like all the grunge bands, they were all, being doomy and gloomy at their shows. And we were like a stripper band. All the strippers would show up at Typo shows. Big parties on the bus every night, the bus jumping up and down.
Too good.
Fun. It was fun.
Well, back to Silvertomb. Like we said, the new album November 1st, basically October 31st, Halloween. What are the plans for the band? Are we going to see a tour? What are we looking at?
Well, we're definitely going to be touring. We're doing something coming in March, but I can't really announce it right now yet because all the dates aren't confirmed.
Okay.
But we'll be doing North America in March. And we actually have our first headlining show in New York coming up December 21st this year at St. Vitus.
Nice.
So, and we're going to let the people absorb the music for a few months and then hit the road in March. I haven't toured since, last year I did a short 2.5-week tour we opened up for Life Agony.
Nice.
We had released Insomnia, the one song from Silvertomb, and that was really cool. And that was the first time I'd toured since 2011. So, but coming in March, it'll be the first real 6-week tour that I've done in a long time. I'm very excited, man. I want to have fun,
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And this episode is actually going to be a split episode with. I also did an interview with Alan Robert of Life of Agony. This is also coming out on Halloween. So just to kind of wrap it up, what are your kind of memories as a kid of Halloween? Were you did you get the plastic costume with the plastic mask and that you could barely breathe out of and all that good stuff?
Oh yeah. Then we used to collect our candy in a plastic pumpkin.
Yeah.
Me and my brother. We were always the kids that were out the latest, like till 11 o'clock at night. I mean, parents would never let their kids do that these days. And we were little assholes. Even when a nice old lady gave us candy, when she shut the door, we'd jump on a bush and crush a bush.
Nice. There was actually, it's funny you're talking about being out till 11. There's a city in Virginia that just passed a law that it's a misdemeanor if you're trick-or-treating after the age of 12, and it's a misdemeanor if you're out past like 8, I think. And it's insane. It's the most insane.
I'll agree with the out past 8. Because there's a lot of freaks in the world. Yeah. And I'll also agree with the past 12 years old. Because if you're trick-or-treating past 12 years old, there's something wrong with you.
I don't know, man. I mean, I guess I take my kids out, and my 13-year-old, he doesn't want to go this year, but I think he went last year. But I get it, but it's just crazy that they're making it a law. But I do get, I guess I have handed out candy, and you get that group of like 14, 15-year-olds that barely are wearing a mask, and you're like, get out of here. Well, let's end this episode off with the song off of Edge of Existence. Which song would you like us to play?
Rite of Passage.
All right. Is there a little meaning behind that one you want to talk about?
It's about suicide. My own attempt at it. Failed attempt, obviously. That's what I'm talking to you right now.
Well, and we are all glad it was a failed attempt because, all the greatness that you are.
I'm pretty happy about it, too. It was probably the dumbest thing I tried ever in my life. Absolutely.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure, Kenny, and good luck with the record. Good luck with the tour next year. Hopefully you'll be coming through the South. We will see you out on the road and make sure everybody picks up Edge of Existence November 1st.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, take care.
Poison ring.
All right, huge thank you to Alan Robert of Life of Agony. Huge thank you to Kenny Hickey of Typo Negative / Silvertomb fame. Make sure you're checking out both of their new albums. And it was great to go down memory lane with both of those guys. Definitely have been seeing those guys live since I was in my teens. So it's been a very long time ago and many, many, many moons ago. Happy Halloween, guys. Make sure to stay safe out there. Make sure to order yourself a Talk To Me t-shirt. Make sure you're supporting Good Company with Bowling. Make sure you're supporting our good friends at merchlive.com. Promo code TOME10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Yes, that is TOME10 for 10% off your entire order. Once again, TOME10, TOOMEY10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. And so, in the spirit of Halloween and the spirit of spookiness, let's end this off with some classic Typo Negative. And until next Thursday, I've been Joshua Toomey, and this is the Talk To Me podcast.
Across upon her bedroom wall, from grace she will fall. An image burning in her mind, and between her thighs. She'd like to know inside of her, deep inside of her. She'd like to know inside of Jesus Christ looks like me. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ looks like me.